Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Bob, Trade Genius, 27th of September. And I want to show you the chart that has, I don't know if the Fed is freaking out, but they probably will be soon. But it certainly is going to be an area that, if you own assets, that you should be quite concerned. And it's the dollar. And so if you look here on the chart here, is that this is one of our tools. So it's a sniper buy, sniper sell. Excellent tool. It's algorithm we developed from the way institutions look at macro reversal areas. So this is a daily chart. So if you're a subscriber, you can request access to this, and it really good tool. But I digress. So we have down here, this move from March to August or into September. This is the stimulus. Okay, we had to. You guys all remember this, the swoosh and the swoosh. This was the market turmoil. I'll show that when I get to the other charts. And then the Fed got engaged, and the Congress got engaged, and we stuck multi-trillions of dollars into the economy to try to arrest the upward move in the dollar. Okay, and they were largely successful, but we came into September, stimulus money has run out, and the Europeans started to talk, and the Chinese and everybody else started talking aggressively about reliquefying their economies, and then the dollar started to gain to gain strength again. So what I did here was I did a Fibonacci. It's interesting. So you have the Fibonacci here, so top and bottom, and usually when a move collapses like this and it's coming back up to the 0.78, 20, basically the 0.23, you usually don't get too concerned about a macro move changing, but it's something to start keeping an eye on, because a lot of times they'll get up here and they'll fail, they'll get to here and fail, and but between here and here, a lot of damage can be done in the stock market. So that's kind of why I'm watching it. It broke up now. What's interesting to me is that this is also linear regression. My linear regression settings, I look back 3 months. Okay, so that's my look back period. And so what happened here is now we're pushing up to nearly 3 standard deviation move. One of my rules in trading is that if you get a move that pushes past 2 standard deviations and comes back in, it's tradable. So we had a tradable bounce here in the market, and then we're pushing up higher again. My suspicion is that we'll test again. We'll probably test around this 93.89 area here is and everybody's just speculating, and then we're going to go probably back up to by here. This 144 is my moving average. It's people use the 200, people use the 50, but the 144 is very interesting also. So one of the things that we see a lot of reversals on, and it's a bull bear line for us, but we trade it more on shorter time frames. But I like it. It really helps me understand where we are kind of in the market. If you notice here, bounce, 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 fail. Okay. And so I'm very interested in that. Buy dips, sell rips. So that's the dollar. Now, going into the other charts here, which is really fascinating to me, and I'll put SPY up next, is that we have, if you notice, the SPY and the dollar are going in cahoots. I mean, literally in cahoots. And so now what we have to keep an eye on here is that where the dollar goes and the market goes. And so we had our thing, we had our little bounce, we failed. And the interesting thing here is that it looks like SPY jumped ahead a little bit of what happened here with the dollar. Okay, because the dollar kept pushing up, but SPY also pushed up on Friday. So we'll have to see whether we had what's called, Carefree Friday here in the market, where they just were Fun Friday, or if SPY is going to lead and the dollar is going to come back down. So that's something to keep an eye on. So how do we kind of get more insight on that? Well, let's look at the things that have been more sensitive to the dollar, if you will, and that's our good friends, gold and silver. So here's gold, GLD, right? So you notice, look where it failed. It failed a month earlier than the dollar, which I found utterly fascinating. So it pushed up pretty hard, and then it fell. And this looks like more of a normal correction. It's come down to the 0.618. It's coming down to the 144 here. You still wouldn't be heavy in the minors here if you're trading on longer time periods until you get a little bit more of a pullback here. So, and definitely if it loses the 50% retrace, then they need to get worried about is the move over. But that's a long way from here to there. So right now it looks like a normal correction, but it dropped hardest, but it's not recovering yet. So these moves are tiny, and so we have to just keep an eye on I think gold and silver will tell us more about what's going on than the stock market in terms of the dollar going to start to relent. And you can also see it with silver. So here's silver, and it hit the 618. So that's just kind of clinging on. Silver is more sensitive to gold. So, but they both topped at the same time a month before the market did. So I'm looking a little bit further now, and so let's take a look at the Qs. Okay, that's the Nasdaq. Nasdaq topped when everybody else did in the indexes, and also it pushed down a little bit harder than SPY, and it's now sitting underneath this fib line here. So if it breaks through, then everybody's going to be trying to gunning for a double top. My personal view is money's going to rotate out of tech. I think there's nobody's really touching them right now because of the election coming up. But I'm pretty convinced if Trump wins re-election, he's going to go after the FANGs hard, and I think tech's going to be in big trouble. And not sure what a Biden administration would do, but the marketplace is telling us that, hey, this looks toppy. People can argue this is a shoulder, right? Come back down to here, and then this is Katie bar the door stuff. This is $50. You're coming down to about right here, which would be an utter disaster for the stock market and your portfolios. So watch the Qs. I think it's the bellwether on the index side, and watch silver. It's the bellwether of the precious metal side. I'm going to bring one more up here, and I didn't get a chance to fib it, so let's look at it together. Okay, so here's the small caps. You notice the small caps are trading almost like silver and gold are trading. I find that really interesting to me. So if we fib that out, everybody seems to have the same bottom. You notice the sniper spy on this too. So look at it. This fell at the same time the miners started to fall, and now it's also at this 0.786. The only thing that really scares me is everything's so damn correlated. So I don't think there's going to be too many places to hide. I think when this thing really rock and rolls, unless you're going to flip short. And I'll do another video later, look at some opportunities there. But I just want to kind of get this out to show you. So they all look the same. So people argue, hey, top, failed retrace. It's going to be another failed retrace. In our trading room, where we kind of laugh, we call this the market, not the IWM, but everything. I think we're going to have what's called the long goodbye, where the market, they're not going to let it market crash like it has been crashing. It's going to look a little bit like this, but on this end, it's going to be these swings like this, So we're just going to scallop down, scallop down, scallop down. The markets are overvalued. I mean, you can't argue that with me or anybody else. They're obscenely overvalued, but we're all kind of stuck together. So I'm not necessarily cheering for a crash because the reverb through the economy would be enormous. You don't just punish the rich. When the rich get punished, we all get crushed. So it's just going to have to. They're gonna if they're really controlling this, they're gonna try to scallop it down, and that's one thing we just gonna have to keep an eye on. And then here's GOLD. This is my favorite longer term gold miner, silver miner, just precious metals in general, and it's holding up pretty well. Okay, from its March low. Okay, so that's where it's sitting. And sitting above the 0.786. So the miners aren't being affected as much as the metals. So the traders may be assuming that the Fed's going to be reversing course there pretty soon. But I like this a lot. This is what I call a consolidation on high. And so it's holding up pretty well. I would only get nervous if it broke my 144 here. And then, other than that, just keep, accumulating it. Or in my case, I sell calls against my position until it breaks this level. People ask me all the time, when will you stop doing that? I said, when we get a new level here. Okay, either we get a new level here, or we hit this and bounce, and then I'll take off the sold calls. In the meantime, I'm just going to try to grab premium as I can. Okay. So let's take a look here, a few things. So what's our good friend Apple doing? So here's Apple. Apple got hit pretty hard. So let me show you, do something a little bit different here. So here's the price range. So when it hit the sniper cell, okay, it went ahead and it took a bear market move. So now it's bouncing. So what we do now to look at this is let's throw a fib on that. Let's zoom in now, shall we? Okay, so now here's the move here. So if you think this moves over, and Apple's the key too. So the dollar and Apple. So what you want to watch for now is you want to watch for a failure at any of these fib lines. So big money's probably looking here. Hey, we'll probably try to short it around here. If that goes, they'll try to short it around here. And if that doesn't go, they're going to buy it back to the top, or try to at least. So that's the thinking here. A lot of times if it breaks above this, it's going to go at least here. So people are watching Apple. All right, look at this is the Friday move. This is why the market went up. Just a huge move in Apple. Okay. And so just every day you want to look at Apple and see what Apple's up to. Because Apple's really the generator of enthusiasm for the market. And then we have our crazy cousin Tesla. Okay, now Tesla's starting a long goodbye. So I'm going to do something else here with Tesla. See, the sniper cell's pretty cool, isn't it? So you put that like that. And that's what you're watching for Tesla. Now, one thing it's doing, they don't make anything easy, just so you know. So here is what's known as a triangle. Now, triangles can break either way. You always have to give the benefit of doubt of a triangle that is going to break in the direction of travel. In this case here, though, define travel, right? So the big macro move is that the triangle should break higher, okay? But we're making lower highs now. So now you have to ask yourself, all right, so where should I worry? So if you notice here, this was the last resistance area. It broke through it here, So traders ran this thing up all the way to 3 standard deviation. By the way, if something hits 3 standard deviations and comes back in, you should have been shorting it right here. Okay, it broke through that support then. Resistance becomes support. Came back in again, but it could not get to the highs. Got just to the middle of the channel. Fell back again. So now what you have to watch for is that you need to make a lower low at this point. Okay, unless you're like Mr. Super Trader, is that you're going to wait to see here, see what it's going to do, or if you're going to go long, you're going to wait to see here. All right, so that's kind of where Tesla is. So Tesla's losing its steam. The company's worth nothing, by the way. I don't know. Give it a couple $1 billion for their battery technology or their manufacturing plants, but it's certainly not worth what it is. They can't make any money on cars. So they're a battery company masquerading as a car company. So that's that. Thought I would just have some fun with you guys on this stuff. I'm basically just kind of figuring it out. I don't trade on the dailies. I trade at shorter time frames. But it's certainly important to see what the backdrop is. And for me, just watch Apple, watch the dollar, take your cues from that, and we'll see where things go. I'll show you some short opportunities here. I'll do another video and try to line them out. If you guys want to trade with us, we do pretty well. So we have some really cool tools. I turned them off, a bunch of them off, but the sniper cell thing, look at this. It's pretty cool. It definitely tells you, in an uptrend where the move is consolidating. But even if you shorted these things with stops, you would make money. Okay, so but this thing has been, Tesla's just been literally crazy, and now we have to see where it goes. But I'll talk about some ideas. I have one idea in particular that I think is going to do extremely well once it comes out of the barn, but we're not there yet. But thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. TradeLikeAGenius.com if you want to check us out. Have a good one. Bye.